The Green Bay Packers are the betting favorites this week against the Philadelphia Eagles, but everyone's picking Philly, which means Matt LaFleurs, Jordan Love and company have this game right where they want it.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast to iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. The Packers are still favorites, technically. According to our friends at FanDuel, the Packers still have the advantage at home on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. But if you look around the internet, if you watch the shouty shows, which I don't recommend, but a lot of people do, you will see a lot of people picking the Philadelphia Eagles. The underlying metrics all still like the Packers. But I understand the vibes after the Carolina game are bad. And last year, the underlying metrics liked the Packers a lot in a lot of games, and they didn't always come out on top. Now, the Lions had great underlying metrics last year. You know, the Packers were not going to be favorites in those games. The same is true for the Vikings in a lot of cases. So 2024 is not 2025, and I spent the squad show trying to reiterate that. The 2024 Eagles are not the 2025 Eagles. But this is where I want to see the Packers step forward. We talked yesterday about and earlier this week about the conservative way that the Packers have handled some of these games when they are the favorites. Now, they are in that band of 7.5 points or fewer favorites, but they're really more like the underdogs, or at least Matt LaFleurs can flip it that way because he can show, for example, the NFL media picks where all of the big names in their pick pool have the Eagles, except for Adam Rank, who has gone from picking against the Packers every week to picking the Packers every week as a reverse jinx, and I have no choice but to respect it. Matt LaFleurs can point to everyone in that locker room and say, we know when we play our best, nobody can beat us, but we're not playing our best right now. And after what happened against Carolina, no one thinks you can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, that's of course not true. And the betting lines have not moved significantly off 2.5 since that line opened. And so the money is still coming in on both sides here. That's not what you want to do if you're the coach. You don't want to get into the nuances of betting and liability and all those things. You want to point to a picture of NFL media and Colleen Wolfe and Nick Shook and all those guys picking the Eagles. This is when the Packers in the Matt LaFleurs era, particularly in the Jordan Love era, have played their best football. They are the better team. They are the more well-balanced team, but they are not playing the best of these two teams right now. The last time we saw the Philadelphia Eagles play, they looked better than the Packers the last time they played. The Packers have not adhered to any sort of momentum model ever in these weeks, and they are a great case for why momentum is not a thing in sports. I believe in momentum in sports, but there is scant evidence to suggest that momentum actually exists. Down to down, drive to drive, game to game. Now, I believe in it, but again, the data does not support it. I expect this Packers team to play their best football on Monday night. And one of the reasons is, yes, they are favorites, but this team has traditionally played better when it's like, well, we think this Packers team is pretty good, but they're not this good. They can't win these games. 2023, we saw them win a bunch of games like that at home against Kansas City, on the road against Detroit, on the road against Minnesota, albeit against a backup quarterback. But the Packers were fighting for their playoff lives in that game. A lot of people picked the Bears in the last week of the 2023 season at Lambeau. And of course, the Packers were big-time underdogs in Dallas. They were big-time underdogs in San Francisco. And they gave that team everything they could handle. This Packers team is so much better, so much more talented than those teams. And I understand last year in the big games, they didn't come through, but we've already seen them in big games this year. You can argue the three biggest tests of their season, they passed. They beat the heck out of the Lions, the heck out of the Commanders before injuries totally derailed their season. And then they come back and absolutely put it on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second half in Pittsburgh, which is not an easy place to go play. The games they lost were games where they're the noon games that are like maybe on CBS, maybe on Fox, we don't know. And it's an announcing crew that you go, oh, we got these guys this week. Jeez, I gotta listen to 3 hours of these guys talk. That's not what we get on Monday. And if you look at Jordan Love's numbers on Sunday Night Football, now I know they're playing on Monday night, but if you look at the Sunday night primetime marquee matchups, his numbers are excellent in those opportunities. And in most cases, they're games where it's a coin flip. We don't know who's going to win. A lot of people, even though the Packers were favorites in Pittsburgh, there are a lot of people who are like, no, come on, Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers in a revenge game. You got to pick Aaron Rodgers. Well, no, you don't. Jordan Love played one of the best games of his career, maybe the single best game of his career. He did not play great last week. 2 or 3 opportunities, key opportunities that he let go, turn downs where he's got Luke Musgrave on the first play of the game on a corner route, wide ass open. Doesn't throw it. Got Romeo Doubs wide open for a touchdown in the red zone and bails for no pressure to nowhere. And then we know with the force to Christian Watson on the deep ball where it's just like, just don't do that. Now we're going to go into some of the matchups stuff here today. And I like a lot of the matchups for Green Bay, which is all the more reason for me to be standing here, or I guess I'm technically sitting here, and saying to you, the fact that everyone is on the Eagles this week makes me more confident that Green Bay, whether they win or lose, is going to play a really good game. The Philadelphia Eagles are capable of taking Green Bay's best punch. I think there are probably only 2 teams in the league right now who I think could take Green Bay's best punch and win. Philly and Detroit. Just from a pure talent standpoint. Those 2 teams could take Green Bay's A game, and if they play an A game, it could go either way. It's going to come down to the last drive, the last play, a penalty here, a drop there. But I can live with that. I can live with 24-21, a last second field goal. I can live with 31-28 in a shootout. I can live. Eagles coming off a bye. Packers are banged up. They just lost Tucker Kraft. Now, I think Matt LaFleurs is going to come out with a hell of a game plan. This team, when the schedule came out, there were 2 games that you circled. Maybe 3. Week 1, Detroit Lions. And this game. Those were the 2 big ones. Because the schedule came out, we didn't know where Aaron Rodgers was going to be playing quarterback. So you couldn't circle the Steelers game. Once Rodgers signed there, you go, okay, that's one of those you got to circle because you got to be ready for it. Week 1, right out the gate. What do you got? Well, the Packers showed us. They played great. And this one. The Packers have been thinking about this game since January. Almost a full calendar year, the Packers have been thinking about this football game. Sometimes in these games, it just comes down to the team that needs it more. And I said that in week 1. The Packers are going to win. I did even a short about this. The Packers are going to win because they have to win. The Eagles don't have to win this game. They already beat the Packers last year twice. They don't need the game the same way the Packers need this game. And a lot of times in the NFL, it's going to come down to who comes out and plays harder, who plays more desperate. I think you're going to see a desperate version of this Packers team. That means I think you're going to see an aggressive version of this Packers team. Oh, everyone's going to pick the Eagles? Okay, bombs away. I think this is not a game you can play not to lose. This is going to be a game you have to go play to win, and that is the version of the Green Bay Packers that can beat anybody in the NFL. Now let's talk specifically about some of the advantages I think they have. We'll do that next on Locked On Packers. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with a high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. Ready to say yes to saying no. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Upfront payment of $45 required. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed may slow over 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. I went to get tickets for Packers Giants in New York. And I was like, where do I look? Where do I turn? Well, the answer is Gametime. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. You can get into the Packers-Eagles game right now. It's not going to be inexpensive because this is one of the marquee games of the season. But Gametime is going to give you the best chance at getting the best deal. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Gametime today. One of the things that I have come to understand about trying to find weaknesses and strengths and to see what matters and what doesn't is I think strengths tend to matter more than weaknesses. What are you really good at? And how does that match up against what the other team does? Because teams, by and large, are going to play to their strengths. And I think especially good teams. So Packers, Eagles, you've got two really good teams. I don't think either team is going to say, we need to change what we do because of what they do. It's going to be, we have to do what we do best, and then we need to be better than they are at the thing we do best. In these games, that tends to be what wins out. And so for the Packers, the thing that they do better than any other team in the NFL is they do not give up explosive plays. And we saw in the playoff game last year, it was a lot of shell coverage, contain Jalen Hurts, and make him read everything out. Make him make accurate throws. Make him throw the ball to the middle of the field. Make him throw the ball to the intermediate part of the field, which is something he just does not want to do. This is Green Bay's strength. The Eagles' offense has been living on explosive plays, and they are the most blitzed team in the NFL this season. Well, the Packers blitz at the second fewest rate in the NFL this season. They don't do that. Now, teams have had some success, but the Eagles have also got them. Like against the Vikings, Jalen Hurts had every answer for Brian Flores' blitz package. It was an extremely impressive game, one of the best games Jalen Hurts has ever played. Well, the Packers are not going to do that because what do you do when you blitz? You got to get creative on the back end. You got to have disguises unless you're going to play man coverage, and the Vikings don't really have the corners to do that. And Jalen Hurts just had every answer. Oh, here's a big play. Here's a big play. Here's a big play. Here's A.J. Brown one-on-one. Here's Devontae Smith one-on-one. Jalen Hurts just doesn't like throwing to the middle of the field. That's where the Packers are weakest. So what is the Eagles' strength? Generating explosives. Well, the Packers, this is strength on strength. The best team in the NFL. The Packers are elite against 2 tight end sets. I know that seems weird because they haven't been able to cover tight ends in a long time. It seems the Eagles' best personnels come in 12 personnel. So this Packers team is really good playing too high. That's where the Eagles have some issues. They're really good against play action. That's been the key for the Eagles over the last couple games is they've gone under center, play action. This has been a shotgun run team primarily. The Packers are the best defense against shotgun runs. It's the under center runs that they've had some issues with. Rico Dowdle got them last week. So that's going to be the question is what can you do against Saquon Barkley? Can you prevent him from creating explosives? Give him 4, give him 5, give him 6. The Packers played Saquon really well in the playoff game. The Packers are vulnerable in the middle of the field, as I mentioned. But again, I don't think the Eagles are going to change what they do. And Jalen Hurts just is what he is at this point. I said this before the Steelers game, and I got a lot of people saying, oh, well, Rodgers against the Packers, he's going to change that. He's going to start throwing to the middle of the field. Guess what? He did not. So against these quarterbacks that don't like to throw to the middle of the field, the Packers have a clear advantage. On the other side of the ball, this was not something the Packers were able to exploit in the playoff game because that defense was just much better. And the point I kept making on the squad show was the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles are not the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles. The Packers have clear passing advantages. They are first in EPA per dropback this year as an offense. The Eagles are 17th defending the pass. And one of the big reasons is they struggle against play action. This is a very aggressive front and a very aggressive group of linebackers. Nakobe Dean, Jahad Campbell, Zach Bond. Green Bay is second in EPA per playoff play action. Philly is 28th. And this is a big part of what the Packers do. I would like to see them. And I've been banging the table about this. Play action on early downs. This is the week to do it. Take your shots. The Eagles will show you too high and then get to single high, which is the Fangio defense. Well, the Packers have the second best offense in the NFL against single high coverages. If the Packers can protect Jordan Love, and that play action is what you use to slow down that pass rush, Matt LaFleurs, I am begging you, find the limit. Find the limit on play action. See how much you can use play action to where it no longer works. My guess is you've already established the run enough where you could call play action on first down every single drive. On the first play of the game, the first down, you could go play action every single drive, and I bet it would work. You can't do it on every single first down. You have to run a little bit. But this Packers team, that advantage, this passing game, Adoree Jackson is in concussion protocol. They traded for Michael Carter. Are they going to put Cooper DeJean outside? If they are, then you've got some advantages in the slot. Can you put Christian Watson in the slot? Remember, the last time these two teams played, Christian Watson did not play. Matthew Golden was at Texas. Savion Williams was at TCU. Elton Jenkins was hurt. Got hurt on the first drive. Jordan Morgan was hurt. Now Tucker Kraft played. But it was not enough because you're throwing to Malik Heath and Dontavian Wicks for most of the game. And remember, that was a one-score game in the fourth quarter. The Packers had the ball late in the fourth quarter with a chance to go and really make it a game. Couldn't. But Christian Watson was not in the building. Romeo Doubs was not in the building. Matthew Golden was not in the building. And this version of Jordan Love that has clearly leveled up since then was also not in the building. Plus the Packers are at home. And a road playoff game versus a home Monday night game, that environment is very different. You're going to be able to make all of your signals. You're going to be able to communicate. You're going to be able to get to, hey, they're trying to change personnel to get into third down, and you can catch them on the field and go over the top. This is not a team that is just going to sit in quarters and cover six all day and take away all the big plays. They're going to show that. They're going to spin the safety. They play most of over 60% of their snaps. They're one of the most single high safety teams in the NFL, but they're going to show you too high. And what they want is to catch you in rotation, trying to throw in the middle of the field. Now, they play enough too high that, still 40% of the snaps are in too high. It's not like they never do it. The Vic Fangio defense is going to play plenty of quarters, plenty of too high. The other part of this is the Packers have been awesome. This has been a mediocre to bad run defense for the Eagles, 26th in DVOA. They get into third and manageable every single time. That's why Jordan Love is so good this year on third and manageable, because it's third and manageable. Like, it's why he's so good on third down this year, because it's always third and 4, third and 5, third and 3, third and 2. So if you're Vic Fangio, you can't just tune the opponent up with exotic looks or let the pass rushers pin their ears back, because you got to play run to pass. Especially in plus territory, this has got to be a game where you just know if it's third and less than 5, you got to have 2 play calls ready. If you're in Philly territory and it's third and less than 5 or third and 5-ish, be ready to go. Because the Eagles are going to go all the time. This is one of those games and game scripts where I don't think the Packers have much of a choice. They've got to go. And I think they're going to, and I think they're going to play well, and I think they're going to win. They're also letting the kickers compete for the first time this year. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Packers. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of the sports season. Whether you're following the NBA, the NFL, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Plus, the new stack feature, my favorite, features the ability to take more on, let's say, Steph Curry's points, threes, and assists in the same lineups. You can take the same player multiple ways. Josh Allen, passing yards, rushing yards, for example. Download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Last week, Matt LaFleurs was asked about making a change at kicker, and he said, no, Brandon McManus is the guy. After the game, he was asked, what's your thought? I guess it was Monday. He was asked, maybe it might have been Tuesday, but early in the week, are you thinking about making a change? And he equivocated. He said, we're looking at everything. And then on Thursday, he was asked, remember, everything's off a day because of Monday Night Football, but he was asked, and he said, well, Lucas Haversek and Brandon McManus are both going to kick, and we're gonna make the decision based on who gives us the best chance to win. This is the closest we have seen to them saying we're going to bench Brandon McManus. Now they're not, right? And there's no competitive advantage from Lucas Haversek versus Brandon McManus. They are giving the veteran the chance to play his way out of this slump. But what I said on the squad show, and I will reiterate here, is I believe both kickers will be active on game day. Haversek was not last week. I think both kickers will be active this week. And the message will be, this is a competition, and that includes the game. And so, McManus, you miss a field goal, you pull a 43-yard field goal 15 yards to the left, it's over, buddy. And after the game, they will be able to say, look, he's dealing with injury. We're going to put him on IR. That is the respectful thing to do for a veteran. You put him on IR rather than bench him. Now, he might say, I want a chance to go and play somewhere else. But you put him on IR, and then if he's going to make a stink about it, you could release him with an injury settlement if you wanted. Like the Packers could reasonably say, look, we want to get you healthy and then give it a month. That keeps their options open. I've been saying for 3 weeks that I think that this should be the plan, or at least 2 weeks. So whether that means Brandon McManus might go out and make 3 kicks in this game. I would prefer the game not come down to him having to make his kicks. But chances are you're going to have some opportunities and he's going to have to make extra points. In the cold, there's a chance of snow in the forecast. These are not going to be gimme kicks. So who do you want? Do you want Brandon McManus or do you want Lucas Haversek? I think for this game, you'd like it to be Brandon McManus. But then if these are the games you have Brandon McManus for. Lock in, buddy. If he can't, If he still can't do it, then it's just over. Like, you have your veteran for the big games, for the big moments. He might miss a kick against the Panthers. He might miss a kick against whoever. But in the big moments, you're going to count on him to make those kicks. If you can't, then his utility on this team has run its course. And look, it's too late for me personally, because I was ready to do this weeks ago. But I do appreciate Matt LaFleur saying, look, this has got to be a competition. And so we're going to let these guys compete. I think Carolina was the last straw, at least for Matt LaFleur. And so now there's a lot of pressure on Brandon McManus. And if he can't handle that pressure, he's not the right kicker. He's not the right kicker, because you are a Super Bowl caliber team. You are a team capable of going and winning the Super Bowl. So if you can't handle that pressure, sorry, you got to go. You know, I would love for Brandon McManus to go out and make the game winner. A 53-yard game winner. It'd be great if it's like a 14-yard game winner. I guess you can't technically have that. A 25-yard game winner. Someone gets wide open in the open field and they just go down at the 5-yard line and you have to kick a 22-yarder with time expiring to win the game. That would be awesome. Now that doesn't test you much, right? So maybe it needs to be a 45-yarder. You have 30 seconds to go down and score, and you hit two big throws, and now you have a chance. And Brandon McManus makes the field goal. And now that lifts him through the end of the season. That would be amazing. Like, this is not about Brandon McManus. I'm not anti-Brandon McManus by any means. I'm anti the kicker who's struggling. And there seems to be some friction between the coach and the kicker. I don't talk to kickers. You know, the whatever Brandon McManus said about, whatever Matt LaFleur said. We don't need to get into the he said, she said. I guess it's he said, he said. I'm not, trying to be weird about that. But the Packers have to get this figured out. The rest of the special teams, look, it's not going to get figured out. It's just not. Like, anyone expecting Rich Bisaccia to find God at some point late in the season, it's just not going to happen. Rich Bisaccia is who he is. And I was actually talking to someone who was on staff with Bisaccia back in Tampa Bay, and he was like, look, he's not a tactician. He's a rah-rah guy. Well, when you constantly have these mistakes, like when Tracy Smith for the Carolina Panthers identifies, we should take the ball so that in the second half, we can determine in the fourth quarter the wind direction. And they pick the right wind direction, because earlier in the game, you have a 50-yarder that's not even close and is short because you're kicking into the wind. It proved the point. Rich Bisaccia, there's no way Rich Bisaccia is gonna think of that. He's just not. And Matt LaFleur is probably not worried about that. He's not thinking of that way. You need your special teams coach. Dave Canales gave Tracy Smith a game ball because it ended up being the difference in the game. If they had been going the other direction, it would have been a much tougher kick at the end of the game. The Packers, by the way, have lost 2 games now on long field goals after a missed kick earlier in the game. And all 3 games that they have not won, the margin has been missed kicks. You get a field goal blocked that turns into the game-winning field goal against Cleveland. You get an extra point blocked that turns into points in a game you tie. And you have a missed kick from Brandon McManus in a game that you lose by 3. Like, you just can't keep having these mistakes. Rich Bisaccia is not going to fix them. But if you can get Brandon McManus feeling good, playing well, getting healthy, that's like, I'm good with a healthy version of Brandon McManus playing with confidence. But if he's hurt and his confidence is shot, you got to get the other guy in there. And I think the Packers are finally willing to do that. All right. I think the Packers win. I think this is I think on the squad show, I said 24-21. I was going to say 27-24. 27's been their magic number. I think they're going to be able to score on Philly. I really do. I think they're going to be able to score effectively on Philly. And if Jordan Love takes care of the ball, they'll win. They'll win. It would be appropriate. Jordan Love's kind of coming out party, much the same way that Aaron Rodgers' coming out party was against Dallas in a game they lost. Jordan Love's coming out party was against Philly in a game they ultimately lose. On a Super Bowl chasing season for you to come out and let the rest of the league know, hey, actually everyone is chasing us. Go out and win this game 31-20. That is in the Packers. The Packers can do that, and Philly can play bad enough to do that. This is the number 1 3-and-out team in the NFL. This is not a sustained drive team. This is not the 2024 Eagles. They're going to either create some explosive plays or they're going to go 3-and-out. If the Packers can get them to go 3-and-out a couple times, they will win. If they get more than, I'll set the over-under at 2.5. If they go over 2.5, 3-and-outs. I would even just say over 2.5 punts. I think the Packers will win because I don't think the Packers will punt 3 times. I think the Packers will score. They need to get the red zone offense in gear. But I think they'll do that. They run the ball well enough in those situations, and Jordan Love is kind of due here. I'm so excited for this game. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be classic, and I can't wait. We're going to give you 30 minutes for Locked On Packers on YouTube. Then we're going to give you 60 minutes of the Locked On Packers squad show on YouTube. 90 minutes of post-game coverage after the Packers beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Follow me on the social medias. Follow the podcast on the social media. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Of course, subscribe on YouTube so you can come watch with us, come hang out after the game so you can stay Locked On Packers.